I found my boyfriend on Tinder. But the story gets worse. When I first met Jake on Tinder, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. He was charming, had that rugged but sweet look, and actually seemed interested in having real conversations, not just sending winky faces and wide at 2 a.m. After a few weeks of texting, we met in person, and it was even better than I expected. He was funny, attentive, and made me feel like the only girl in the world. For the next 6 months, everything was perfect. We went on spontaneous road trips, had lazy Sunday mornings making pancakes, and he even introduced me to his mom. I was convinced I'd found my soulmate on a dating app. But then, things got weird. One night, we were cuddling on the couch when his phone lit up with a Tinder notification. My heart dropped. He laughed it off, saying it was probably an old notification from before we met. I wanted to believe him, but something in my gut told me to dig deeper. Later that night, while he was in the shower, I grabbed his phone. My hands were shaking as I opened Tinder. My worst fears were confirmed. He was still active, still swiping, still messaging other girls. I felt sick, but here's where it gets worse. One of the recent messages caught my eye. I had a great time last night. Can't wait to see you again. The timestamp? Last night. While he was supposedly working late. I couldn't breathe. My whole body went numb. But instead of breaking down, I took screenshots, sent them to myself, and put his phone back. I needed a plan. The next day, I invited him over for dinner, pretending like everything was normal. I even dressed up just to make him feel comfortable. And then, halfway through the meal, I casually pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. "Recognize these?" I asked, my voice steady but cold. His face turned ghost white. He stammered, trying to come up with an excuse, but I was done listening. "You can leave now," I said, standing up, "and take your lies with you." Jake tried to apologize, but I wasn't having it. I blocked him on everything, deleted our photos, and threw out the sweater of his I used to love wearing. But here's the real twist. A few weeks later, a girl DM'd me on Instagram. She'd seen my name in his Tinder messages. Turns out he'd been juggling multiple girls, telling each of us we were the one. We formed a whole group chat of girls he'd played, and together we exposed him. After we exposed Jake in our group chat, things took a turn I never expected. At first, it was kind of fun. Bonding with these girls over our shared betrayal. Laughing at his recycled pickup lines, even making a group playlist called Jake's Greatest Lies, featuring songs like Irreplaceable by Beyoncé and Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. But then, weird things started happening. One of the girls, Emily, sent a screenshot in the group chat. Jake had made a new Tinder, with a different name. Same pictures, different bio. But instead of pretending to be some sweet, romantic guy, his bio now read, "Looking for something casual. No drama, just fun." The audacity. We laughed at first, but then Olivia, another girl from the group, said something that made my stomach drop. "I think he knows about this chat." We all froze. Apparently, Jake had messaged her from an unknown number saying, "Hope you had fun with your little witch hunt. You'll regret it." I tried to shake it off. Jake was a liar, sure. But a threat? No way. Then I started getting blocked number calls. At first, I ignored them, assuming they were spam. But then one night, as I was about to fall asleep, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You think you won, huh?" My blood ran cold. I stared at the message, my fingers shaking over the keyboard. Then another text came through. "Check your car." I practically sprinted to my window. My car was parked right outside my apartment, just like always. But as I squinted in the dim streetlight, I noticed something. All 4 of my tires were slashed. Panic surged through me. I ran back inside, locking the doors, checking the windows. My heart was pounding. Was this just a coincidence? Or was it Jake? I sent a message to the group chat. "Someone slashed my tires." Instantly, the chat blew up. Emily. "What?" Olivia. "Call the police." Now Mia. "It has to be him." I called the cops, my voice shaking as I explained what had happened. An officer came by, took some notes, and asked if I had any enemies. I hesitated before saying his name. Jake. That's when the officer's face changed. He let out a deep sigh. You're not the first girl to say his name. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He rubbed his temple. There have been reports, other women, harassment, stalking, some even had break-ins, but we've never had enough evidence to charge him. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The officer told me to be careful and to consider staying with a friend for a while. I didn't need to be told twice. I packed a bag and crashed at Olivia's place. The whole time, my mind raced. Who was Jake, really? How many women had he done this to? I wanted to believe that was the worst of it, that he'd get bored and move on. But I was wrong, because the very next night, we heard a noise outside Olivia's apartment, and when we checked the doorbell camera, there he was, standing in the shadows, watching, and he wasn't alone. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. There he was, Jake, standing just outside Olivia's apartment building, half hidden in the shadows. But what made my blood turn to ice? He wasn't alone. There was another guy with him, bigger, bulkier, someone I didn't recognize. We watched as Jake leaned toward the camera, his face just barely visible in the grainy black and white footage. He was smiling. A text popped up on my phone. Unknown number. Come outside, babe. We just want to talk. Olivia and I grabbed each other's hands, neither of us breathing. Number freaking. Way, Olivia whispered. We're calling the cops. I was already dialing. The dispatcher picked up and I explained, my voice shaking, that my psychotic ex was standing outside her place with some random guy. They told us to stay inside, lock the doors, and wait for an officer. I checked the camera feed again. Jake and his friend hadn't moved. They just stood there, waiting. Like they knew we were watching. Then, bang. We both screamed as something slammed against the front door. It was like my worst nightmare had come to life. The doorknob rattled. Someone was trying to get in. The cops are coming, I shouted, my voice cracking. A moment of silence. Then Jake's muffled voice. Shame. We just wanted to say hi. Then laughter. That slow, taunting kind that made my stomach turn. I clutched Olivia's hand so tight my knuckles turned white. But finally, after what felt like an eternity, the sound of sirens split through the night. Jake and his friend bolted. By the time the cops arrived, they were already gone. The truth about Jake. We filed a report, showed the officers the texts and the video footage, and I told them everything. The stalking, the slashed tires, the group of girls he had lied to. This time, they took it seriously. Because apparently, Jake had a record. Not just for harassment. For assault. The officer wouldn't give us full details, but I caught the words, previous charges and plea deal. My stomach twisted. How had I never known? After that night, I blocked every number, changed my locks, got security cameras installed, and even moved to a new apartment. The other girls from the group chat did the same. Jake disappeared for a while. We stopped seeing his name pop up on dating apps, and it was like he'd vanished. But then, a few months later, Olivia sent a screenshot to our group chat. It was from Tinder, a new profile. Same pictures, different name. But this time, his bio was even creepier. You can run, but I always find my girls. We reported the profile immediately, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't be the last time we'd hear from him. And to this day, I still check my cameras. I wish I could say that was the end of it. That reporting Jake, changing my number, and moving to a new place meant I never had to think about him again. But that would be a lie. Because 2 weeks after Olivia found his new Tinder profile, I got a letter. Not a text. Not a call. An actual handwritten letter. It was slid under my apartment door in the middle of the night. No postage, no return address. Just my name on the front, written in that messy, slanted handwriting I knew all too well. My hands shook as I opened it. Hey, babe. Thought you could just disappear? Cute. I know where you live. I know where you work. You're not that hard to find. I was thinking, maybe we should try again. I mean, we had something special, didn't we? You wouldn't want to make me mad, would you? See you soon. I dropped the letter like it was on fire. My whole body went cold. He found me. I didn't even have time to think. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and my purse and got the hell out of there. I drove straight to Olivia's place, shaking the entire way. When I showed her the letter, her face went pale. This guy is a full-on psycho, she whispered. We have to do something. We called the cops again, but because he hadn't physically harmed me, yet, all they could do was file another report. No arrest, no restraining order, just a suggestion to stay somewhere safe and be cautious. I was done waiting for him to make the next move. So we decided to turn the tables. Jake had made a new Tinder, right? Well, so did we. But this time we used a fake profile. A girl named Sophie. She was perfect. Just his type. Brunette. Blue eyes, the kind of girl he always fell for. Olivia and I crafted her profile carefully, making sure she looked real. And then, we swiped right on Jake. It didn't take long. He matched within an hour. Jake. Hey, gorgeous, where have you been hiding? Sophie. Just waiting for the right guy. Jake. Well, you found him. I wanted to vomit. But we kept going. For days, we led him on, letting him believe he was talking to some sweet, clueless girl. We got him to reveal where he was staying. A motel, just outside of town. Then, one night, we set up a date. He thought he was meeting Sophie at a bar downtown, but instead, he was met by the police. The final blow, see, while we were texting him, we were also working with a detective who finally took us seriously. The letter had been enough for them to get a warrant. And when they searched his motel room, they found dozens of letters. Not just for me, for multiple girls. Some of them were even worse than mine. Threats, darker stuff. Stuff that made me realize just how dangerous he really was. Jake was arrested that night. This time, he wasn't getting off with just a warning. Epilogue. Moving on. But not forgetting, it took months for me to feel normal again. For a long time, I was always looking over my shoulder, always checking my locks. I even moved again. This time, somewhere far away. But I learned something through all of this. I wasn't just a victim. I fought back. We fought back. And Jake? Well, let's just say he's not on Tinder anymore. For the first time in months, I finally started to breathe again. With Jake in jail, I moved to a new city, started fresh, and tried to put it all behind me. The nightmares didn't go away overnight, and I still jumped at unexpected knocks on my door. But slowly, life went back to normal. Or so I thought. Because 6 months later, I got another letter. No return address. Just my name, written in that same messy handwriting. I almost dropped it right then and there. Jake was in jail. There was no way this could be from him, right? I forced myself to open it, my fingers shaking. Did you really think this was over? My stomach flipped. You put me away. You think that makes you safe? Cute. I have friends. See you soon, babe. I backed away like the paper was poison. My heart pounded in my ears. How? I sat down, gripping the edge of my couch to keep myself from hyperventilating. I grabbed my phone and searched Jake's name. And that's when I saw it. Jake was out, released early, for good behavior. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. How was this even possible? I called Olivia immediately. He's out, I whispered, and I think he found me. Silence on the other end. Then, get out of your apartment. Now. I didn't argue. I grabbed my bag, shoved my laptop and wallet inside, and ran to my car, leaving everything else behind. I drove straight to Olivia's new place, shaking the entire way. When I got there, she was already waiting, pacing the sidewalk. "This is insane," she said as I showed her the letter. "He was supposed to be locked up for at least a year." I didn't know what to say. Nothing made sense. But then Mia, one of the other girls from our old group chat, sent a message. Mia: "Guys, I think I saw him." Emily: "What?" Me: "Where?" Mia: "At my gym. I thought I was seeing things. But then he smiled at me, like he wanted me to know he was there." I felt sick. He wasn't just free, he was hunting us. Nowhere was safe. The police wouldn't do anything. Not yet. The detective told me to keep a record of any contact and to file a restraining order. But a piece of paper wasn't going to stop Jake. We needed to stop him first. So we made a plan. We weren't just going to wait for him to come after us. We were going to find out who was helping him. Because Jake wasn't just stalking us anymore. Someone was working with him. And if we didn't figure out who it was, one of us might not survive this time. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. Jake was out. He had help. And now he was making sure we knew it. The next morning, Olivia, Mia, and I met at a cafe, sitting in the corner with our backs to the wall. Every time the door opened, my heart jumped. Was it him? Was he watching? "We need to figure out who's helping him," Mia said, stirring her coffee even though she hadn't taken a sip. "There's no way he got my gym location by accident." Olivia nodded. "And how the hell did he find your new place after you moved twice?" she asked me. I swallowed. Someone's been feeding him information. A chill ran through me. It could be anyone. A mutual acquaintance, a coworker, a friend, or worse. One of the other girls he had dated. We went back to what worked before. If Jake was out and looking for victims, there was a chance he was back on Tinder. This time, we made a new fake profile. Another Sophie. But instead of a random girl, we used a stock photo of someone a little different from his usual type. Someone that wouldn't stand out as bait. Within a day, he matched. Jake. "Haven't seen you around here before?" "Sophie? Just moved here. Still figuring out the city. Where's a fun place to go?" Jake. "I know a place. Maybe I'll take you sometime." I wanted to throw up, but then he sent another message. Jake. "Let me ask my friend if she wants to come too. She'd love you." We all froze. This was it. He had someone working with him. Sophie. "Ooh, I love new friends. Who is she?" Jake. "Just someone who helps me out sometimes." "You'll meet her soon." I stared at my phone, feeling my stomach drop. We decided to push our luck. Olivia, who was the best at playing the flirty act, took over the Tinder messages. Sophie. "Well, tell her I said hi. Maybe we should all meet up this weekend." Jake. "Maybe sooner. Where do you live?" I nearly threw my phone across the room. Nope. 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 I stood up, pacing. He's testing us. He wants to know where Sophie is. "He's looking for a new target," Olivia whispered. Mia chewed her lip. "Or he knows it's us, and he's messing with us." Either way, it meant one thing. We didn't have much time. Later that night, I was heading home from Olivia's place when I felt it. That sick, crawling sensation. I was being watched. I glanced at my car's side mirror as I unlocked the door. There, a figure standing under a street lamp, dressed in all black. Hoodie up. I froze. It wasn't Jake. Too tall. Too broad. My chest tightened. His friend. Before I could even think, the figure turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. I jumped into my car and locked the doors, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Drive safe, babe." My blood ran ice cold. I floored it out of there. Jake wasn't working alone anymore, and I was officially being hunted. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure in the black hoodie. I heard Jake's voice in my head, mocking me. "You think you're safe? Cute. Number not this time. I was done being scared. We knew one thing for sure. Jake was planning something. He had help, and whoever it was, they were getting too close. So we set a trap. Through the fake Tinder profile, Sophie agreed to meet him at a bar downtown. But when he arrived, he wasn't meeting Sophie. He was meeting us. Mia, Olivia, and I were already inside, hidden in different corners, watching as Jake walked in, scanning the crowd. And he wasn't alone. The man in the black hoodie was with him. I gripped my phone. We had already called the police. All we had to do was wait. But then something went wrong. Jake's phone buzzed and his face twisted. He knew. He looked around, eyes scanning the bar. Then, his gaze locked onto me. The chase. My stomach dropped. Before I could move, Jake started toward me. Fast. I jumped up, shoving past people, heart racing. I heard Olivia yell my name, heard Mia's chair scrape against the floor as she moved, but Jake was too close. I sprinted toward the back exit, but the man in the black hoodie was already there. Blocking the door. Trapped. I turned back, my pulse hammering. Jake was smiling. "You just couldn't leave it alone, could you?" he said, stepping closer. I backed up. "You're insane." He shrugged. "Maybe, but you made me this way." I clenched my fists. "No, Jake, you were always like this." He laughed, low and cruel. Then he nodded at the man beside him. "Let's go." The man in the hoodie grabbed my wrist. I screamed. But before he could pull me, before Jake could take me, sirens split the night. The doors burst open. Police. Jake's smile dropped. The man in the hoodie let go of me just as officers tackled him to the ground. Jake tried to run. He made it halfway to the exit before an officer grabbed him, shoving him hard against the wall. "No, you don't get to do this to me again," he screamed, thrashing, but it was over. This time, he wasn't getting away. The truth about Jake's friend. It took weeks to untangle everything, but when the truth finally came out, it was worse than I imagined. The man in the hoodie? His name was Darren. He was another one of Jake's victims. A guy Jake had manipulated, blackmailed, and used until he had no choice but to help him. Jake had been building an entire network of people. Ex-girlfriends, old friends, lonely strangers, all under his control. And I was supposed to be his final lesson, his warning to the others. But instead, I was the one who stopped him. Jake was sentenced to 10 years. Darren got less time. He had been trapped in Jake's twisted game, just like the rest of us. I moved again, changed my number, and deleted every dating app I ever had. I finally felt safe. But then, 3 months later, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, written in that same messy handwriting. My breath caught in my throat. I almost didn't open it. But I did. And inside there was only one sentence. "See you soon, babe."